I was on my way back to London to pick up my documents and start a tour, 28-day tour of Europe or something, next day. And I was sitting having breakfast there in Northleach, and I looked out and I see this lovely period detached house, Cotswold Stone, with for sale on it. And I said to the chap in the restaurant, Philip, who owned the family, I said, "What's the story of that?" He said, "Well, they're a nice family, but he's a BBC cameraman. He was working a lot on the nature series, but he had to move, and so it was for sale." So I went and knocked on the door, and this very nice blonde lady, his wife, came and said, "I see any chance of having a look at this house? I might be interested." She said, "Really?" She said, "Have you come from the estate agents or realtors or whatever you call them here?" I said, "No." I said, "I'm having breakfast there." And she said, "Well, I don't know whether I can let you see the house. I better call my husband." So she called her husband, and she said, "Does he look?" He said, "Does he look like a decent fellow?" She said, "Yes, he's nicely dressed, well spoken. You know." He said, "Well, show him." So I went in and I thought, gosh, this is lovely. On 3 floors, a beautiful house, been restored by an architect, dapple glazed windows, but using the old leaded light windows. Lovely. I thought this would be fun. So I said, right. I said, I'll give you, and I think they were asking £89,000. I said, how about I give you £80,000, but I can have the curtains and the carpets because I don't have any. And she kind of looked and gave me a double take and she said, "Well, you better go see the realtors, the estate agents in Cirencester." So I went belting down there. I didn't have much time, and I went in there and I said, "I'm buying this house. They've agreed to the price already. Sign here." I said, "I'll have it in a month. How are you paying?" I said, "Money, cash, mortgage, no." "Well, you've got surveys and things." "I don't know." I said, "It's been redone it was owned by an architect, so it's been redone." So, cut a long story short, a month later, I drove down there and moved in. I moved in and I had a Dutch friend of mine who was a colleague of mine who worked also on the road with Trafalgar. And I said, Jaap, his name was, which is James. And he said, "Jaapie," I said, "I bought this house." And he said, "God, that sounds fun." So anyway, we rolled up in the, I said, and he was between tours as well. So I said, and I used to keep the car in London or in the south of France where the boat was. I had a Rolls Corniche at the time. And so we rolled up into Northleach, picked up the key from the estate agents and rolled in, and there we had the family that I bought it off, and they said, "Can we leave it?" We had a double bed there. "There's one we don't need. Can we leave it?" Great. So there was a mattress and a bed. So we had a bed there, and we brought a couple of duvets with us or something. And so we stayed the first night there, went in, and there were about 5 pubs in the town of Northleach. Great. All within like 200 yards. So we went into the pub and got sort of fairly well oiled up that night. Next morning we went into the breakfast place right next door. Philip said, "Oh," he said, "you moved in, I see." And I said, "Yes." And he said, "Well, when's the furniture arriving?" I said, "Don't have any." He said, "Unfortunately, the Deans left just a double bed and a mattress, so we were all right last night." And of course, they went straight around town. There's a couple of poofters that moved in. So they figured we'd slept on the double bed. They soon found out we weren't. So that was how I bought the house and spent 5 years buying furniture and decorating, and a wonderful time. I had a great time there, and I enjoyed meeting some really, really great people there, and I had a lovely local girlfriend for a while who used to cook for the Vesties and the Royals and the shooting parties and things. She was lovely, very pretty. Actually, I nicked her. Well, I didn't nick her but she had a row. She was supposed to marry Earl Peel, and she didn't, and so we were together. But I didn't want to get married either, so that was the end of that. I left there anyway. I sold the house. It was too dark downstairs. And what really, really upset me was that when I had my rolls and it was being serviced in Cheltenham, and it was the time when mobile phones came out. You remember the first big Motorola one? It was like a brick, Anyway, I had that put in the rolls, and I had a Mercedes estate car, so you could put it into one or the other. And I remember making the first phone call to a friend of mine on the way back from Cheltenham when after they'd done the service and put the thing, and I'm on the phone hands free, and this was 1985, I think, 84, 85, and then as I went down descended down into Northleach to go home, it sat in a bit of a gully. I lost the signal. I thought, oh God. That really upset me. That did. And I thought I can't live it. And then we had a winter, and it was just so cold. And I remember it was the deepest snow we'd had here for a long, long time. And having to find my way down the lanes and the back roads in the rolls to get to Janet's place for dinner, and when I got there, I remember going down the lane and hitting a pheasant as it crossed. And so when I got to Janet's, I called her Bunny, and she said, the only reason why you should have this stupid Rolls Royce, she said, what it's good for, when you hit the pheasants, because of the flat radiator in the front, they stick to it. And she said, a pheasant that is killed when it's not expecting it, really, and doesn't hear the bang, is actually much better to eat because it's not tensed up. So we had the pheasants, and you said she was quite right. What a silly car it was. So that, and I did eventually sell the. So I had a midlife crisis. I think I sold the car. The Rolls was in Broughton's, and my friend Roland, there was sales director, called up. He said, "I have a gentleman here who's rather interested in purchasing your Corniche. Would you be interested in selling?" And I said, how much? And he said, I forget how much it was. I said, snap his hand off. I can't stand his car anymore. It's really heavy. I kept putting tyres on it. I drove it too fast, And so I bought a Cobra replica. Talk about midlife crisis.